Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Diplomacy failed humanity's exodus rocks the galaxy. The silent departure the crystalline spires of the galactic hegemony Central Council Tower caught the light of twin suns, refracting it into 1,000 glittering patterns across Ambassador Alara's face. She stood tall despite the pressure bearing down on her. 6 alien diplomats from the most powerful civilizations in known space, all focused on her with expressions ranging from disappointment to open hostility. "The Council's decision is final, Ambassador Wei," said Counselor THCK, his exoskeletal plates shifting with barely controlled irritation. The Arthian representative's mandibles clicked, a sound Alara had learned indicated pleasure in their species. "Humanity has proven itself unpredictable. The quantum fluctuation stabilization program will begin within one standard rotation. Your species will thank us for this genetic guidance in time." Alara maintained her diplomatic smile, though inside her stomach churned. The stabilization program was nothing but eugenics dressed in scientific terminology, a systematic culling and modification of the human genome to make their species more predictable, more controllable. "The Earth Coalition appreciates the Council's concern," she replied, her voice steady despite the lie. "I will, of course, need to consult with my government before providing our formal response." High Chancellor Ziv, the ancient Marudan whose species had founded the hegemony millennia ago, fixed her with 6 golden eyes that seemed to peer straight through her deception. "Ambassador, we have already detected unusual power fluctuations across your planet's grid. Your species is planning something. It would be most unfortunate if the Council had to take preemptive action." Alara bowed respectfully, using the motion to hide her momentary flash of panic. "Power grid upgrades, Chancellor. Our infrastructure is still recovering from the Centauri conflict. Nothing that should concern the Council." As she was escorted from the chamber, Alara's neural implant vibrated with an encrypted message. "Nightfall protocol initiated. -12 hours remaining." Admiral Helena Voss stood before the holographic display in Earth's deepest military bunker, 3 kilometers beneath the Mariana Trench. Around her, the Joint Chiefs and Planetary Defense Coordinators monitored the final stages of an operation centuries in the making. "Evacuation progress?" she asked, her voice calm despite overseeing the most significant moment in human history. General Santos, her second in command, enlarged a section of the display. "Phase 3 completed across all continents. The last civilian transports are loading now. Agricultural and cultural preservation ships departed 6 hours ago." "The Council," Voss asked. "Still believing our cover story," replied Director Chen of Intelligence. "Ambassador Wei's performance bought us the time we needed. Their monitoring systems are still receiving our carefully constructed data feeds, normal power consumption, standard communications traffic, routine transport movements." Voss nodded, studying the real-time evacuation simulations. 8 billion humans moving in coordinated waves to hidden departure points around the globe. The operation represented the culmination of a century of secret preparation, ever since humanity had first understood the true nature of the galactic hegemony. "In Project Mirage?" Voss asked. Dr. Imani Okafor, Earth's leading quantum physicist, stepped forward. "The dimensional anchors are positioned. When activated, they'll create the illusion of continued human presence, atmospheric composition, electronic signals, even thermal signatures that will register on their sensors. Earth will appear inhabited long after we're gone." "How long will it hold?" asked Santos. "Indefinitely," Okafor replied with quiet pride. "The quantum echo will persist as long as the anchors remain powered. The automated maintenance systems should keep them running for centuries." Voss turned to the final display, a holographic representation of their destination, a star system deliberately omitted from all official records shared with the hegemony. "New Terra." "The terraforming has been ongoing for 50 years, answered Dr. Kaido Nakamura, head of the Colonization Authority. The first habitats are ready to receive the evacuation transports. We've been transferring resources gradually for decades. The agricultural biodomes are operational, and the genetic repository is secure. Voss absorbed this information with a nod. Humanity had been planning this exodus since the first whispers of the stabilization program had reached Earth intelligence decades ago, while publicly accepting the hegemony's technological guidance, actually designed to limit human advancement. They had secretly continued development along paths that alien oversight had never detected. Time remaining until the dimensional shift, Voss asked. 6 hours, 17 minutes, Chen replied. Ambassador Wei's final transmission confirms the Council suspects something, but they haven't mobilized their fleet yet. Voss straightened her uniform and looked at the assembled leaders of humanity. Then we continue as planned. Monitor all channels. If the Council makes a move before our window, initiate emergency protocols. In her quarters aboard the Hegemony diplomatic station, Ambassador Wei methodically destroyed all personal items that couldn't be taken during evacuation. Her formal credentials, photographs, mementos of Earth, all reduced to ash in a molecular disintegrator. Her neural implant chimed with an incoming communication. "Secure channel established," whispered the AI interface in her mind. "Status report," came Admiral Voss's voice, transmitted across thousands of light years through quantum entanglement. "The Council is suspicious but not yet certain," Alara replied. "Chancellor Ziv mentioned power fluctuations. They're watching more closely than we anticipated. Can you buy us more time?" Alara checked the encrypted countdown projected onto her retina. "I've requested a formal presentation period to deliver Earth's response. Protocol dictates they grant me at least 4 hours to prepare. That should be enough." "Confirmed," Voss said. "The last transports launch in 3 hours." Alara's throat tightened. "And my extraction?" The brief pause told her everything before Voss even spoke. "Your extraction window closed when the Council increased surveillance. I'm sorry, Alara." She had known this was a possibility when she had accepted the assignment. "Understood. I'll maintain the illusion as long as possible." "Your sacrifice will be remembered," Voss said, genuine emotion breaking through her professional tone. "When humanity rebuilds." "Just make sure they have something to rebuild," Alara interrupted. "Complete the mission, Admiral." As the connection terminated, Alara looked out at the gleaming Hegemony capital world. She allowed herself one moment of regret before sealing away her emotions. Opening a hidden compartment in her diplomatic case, she removed a small device, her final contribution to humanity's greatest gambit. Counselor THCK reviewed the data from Earth with growing suspicion. The readings were perfect. Too perfect. Years of observing humans had taught him that their patterns always contained subtle irregularities, chaotic elements that made them so unpredictable and dangerous. These readings showed none of that characteristic noise. "Increased surveillance," he ordered his subordinate. "Deploy additional monitoring probes into Earth orbit." "The ambassador has requested formal response time," the aide reminded him. "Deploying additional resources would violate diplomatic protocol." THCK's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Then accelerate the timeline. Inform the Council we must vote immediately on preemptive measures." As his aide hurried away, THCK accessed restricted files from the Hegemony's earliest contacts with humanity. The official history claimed humans had been discovered by a routine exploration vessel, their technological development assessed, and their civilization welcomed into the galactic community. The classified files told a different story. Humanity had been monitored long before official contact, their potential for rapid advancement noted with alarm. Their unique adaptability and innovative thinking had frightened the stability-focused hegemony. The decision to control human development through guided advancement had been made before first contact ever occurred. Now THCK feared they had underestimated humanity once again. He sent an urgent message to the Hegemony fleet. Whatever the humans were planning, he would ensure it failed. Across Earth, the final stages of evacuation progressed with remarkable efficiency. In tunnels beneath mountain ranges, in vast caverns under oceans, in hidden facilities disguised as mundane infrastructure, humanity's exodus ships prepared for departure. Maya Lin guided her two children through the crowded embarkation terminal beneath what had once been the South Korean peninsula. Around them, thousands of families moved in orderly lines toward the massive vessel that would carry them to New Terra. "Remember," she told her wide-eyed children, "everything we've practiced. Stay together, follow instructions, and keep your personal codes visible." Her daughter Lily clutched a small stuffed rabbit, the only personal item each child was permitted to bring. "Will we ever come back, Mom?" Maya hesitated before answering honestly. "I don't know, sweetheart, but we're going somewhere safe, somewhere we can be ourselves without changing who we are." As they approached the boarding checkpoint, Maya's neural implant received a priority alert. Timeline accelerated. Immediate boarding for remaining personnel. "What's happening?" asked her son Kai, always sensitive to shifts in atmosphere. Before she could answer, the evacuation coordinator's voice echoed through the facility. "Attention, all evacuation groups. The hegemony has deployed additional monitoring vessels. Departure timeline has been accelerated. Please proceed immediately to your designated transports." Around them, the ordered evacuation increased pace, yet remarkably without descending into panic. Humanity had prepared for this contingency like all others. Maya lifted Lily into her arms and grasped Kai's hand. "It's going to be okay," she assured them, guiding them toward their assigned gate. "We're just leaving a little earlier than planned." In the Hegemony Council chamber, Ambassador Wei stood before the assembled representatives with perfect composure. Behind her diplomatic smile, her mind calculated each remaining second of Earth's evacuation. "Counselors, Earth has carefully considered your proposal for genetic stabilization," she began, her voice echoing through the vast chamber. "We recognize the Council's concern for galactic harmony and predictable development." Chancellor Ziv leaned forward. "Then you accept our guidance." "Before delivering our formal response," Ilara continued as if she hadn't heard the interruption, "I have been instructed to present a comprehensive overview of human cultural and biological diversity, demonstrating the value our variations bring to the hegemony." Counselor THCK slammed a chitinous appendage against the ancient table. "This is clearly a delaying tactic. While we sit here listening to this presentation, the humans are implementing some scheme." Ilara maintained her diplomatic smile. "Counselor, I'm simply following established protocol for responses to Class A interventions, unless the Council wishes to violate its own procedures." The chamber erupted in overlapping alien voices as Ilara's neural implant vibrated with a final message. "Exodus complete. Dimensional shift initiated." She closed her eyes briefly in relief. They had done it. Humanity had escaped. Chancellor Ziv's voice cut through the chaos. "Ambassador Wei, our sensors are detecting massive energy surges across Earth's surface. Explain immediately." "I believe," Ilara said calmly, "that would be humanity's response to your stabilization program." She activated the device concealed in her hand, and the holographic projectors throughout the chamber came to life. The image of Earth appeared, beautiful and blue, and then seemed to ripple as if seen through water. "What is this?" demanded Ziv, rising from his chair. "A farewell, Chancellor," Ilara replied, as alarms began to sound throughout the hegemony capital. "Humanity has declined your offer of stabilization. By the time your ships reach Earth, they will find our cities intact, our infrastructure operational, but our people gone." "Impossible," THCK exclaimed. 8 billion beings cannot simply disappear." Ilara's smile became genuine for the first time. "You've always underestimated us, Counselor. That was your first mistake." As security forces rushed into the chamber, Ilara activated the final protocol in her neural implant. Her consciousness would not be available for extraction. All knowledge of humanity's destination died with her. "Remember us," she said as the guards surrounded her. as the species who chose freedom over submission, the species who walked away. The ripple effect. High Chancellor Ziv stood in the observation module of the hegemony flagship Inexorable Justice as it entered Earth orbit. Beside him, Counselor THCK's exoskeleton showed signs of stress fracturing, a physical manifestation of the Arthean's agitation. Impossible, THCK muttered again, though the evidence before them contradicted nothing Ambassador Wei had claimed in her final moments. Earth rotated serenely below them, its oceans and continents familiar from countless surveys. Cities glittered at night, power grids functioned, automated systems continued their programmed routines. But the detailed scans confirmed what seemed unthinkable: no human biosignatures remained on the planet. None. They shielded themselves somehow, insisted THCK. Some technology we haven't detected. The Marudan science officer Tala approached with additional data. Negative, Counselor. We've performed quantum-level scans of every structure. The atmospheric composition shows no trace of human respiration. The water recycling systems show no biological waste processing. Even their companion animals and most plant cultivation is gone. How? Demanded Ziv, all 6 eyes narrowed in concentration. Our observation satellites detected no mass departure. No fleet large enough to transport 8 billion beings could have escaped our notice. Yet they did, Tala replied simply. Ziv turned away from the viewport, his ancient face settling into grim lines. Prepare a full report for the Council. I want every record of human technological development reviewed. Something this significant cannot have been developed in secret without indicators we missed. As the others departed to carry out his orders, Ziv remained staring at the empty planet below. In his thousands of years, he had never encountered anything like this. An entire species simply removing itself from the equation rather than submit to control. Perhaps, he reflected uncomfortably, the hegemony had been wrong about humanity all along. The economic impact hit first. Vel Norda, chief trade administrator of the hegemony, faced a chamber of furious representatives from 17 sectors. The holographic projections of economic collapse flashed red around him. The Prion shipping lanes have completely shut down, complained the Tellarite ambassador. The automated navigation systems that guided our vessels through the gravitational distortions have ceased functioning without human maintenance. The medical synthesizers on Riel VI have failed, added another representative. Our hospitals can no longer produce 37 essential medications developed by human biochemists. Norda raised his appendages for silence. The Council is addressing these concerns. Technical teams are working to reverse engineer human technologies. And failing, interrupted the Centre delegate. My world hosted the largest human engineering enclave. We've discovered that key components in all their systems contain quantum-locked pathways that deteriorate when tampered with. They designed everything to be maintained only by them. The accusations continued. 77% of hegemony worlds depended on human-designed atmospheric processors. The galactic financial system relied on predictive algorithms developed by human economists. The FTL communication network used human-created privacy protocols that were now failing without regular maintenance. Norda had no answers for them. The humans, while appearing to integrate into the hegemony, had quietly made themselves essential to its functioning. Their departure had revealed a terrible truth. The Council had become dependent on the very species they had sought to control. Admiral Krell of the Hegemony Pursuit Fleet studied the sensor readings with mounting frustration. For 6 months, they had followed quantum traces through 17 star systems, always arriving to find nothing but automated beacons transmitting the same message in multiple languages. Humanity departed in peace. We wish no conflict. Do not pursue. Another false trail, reported his second in command. The quantum signature disperses in the Siciny's debris field. Krell's scaled skin flushed with anger. They're toying with us. These breadcrumbs lead nowhere. Sir, his science officer interjected, I've been analyzing the pattern of these beacons. They're not random. They form a perfect geometric progression away from hegemony space, meaning they want us following these obvious trails, which suggests the actual direction of their exodus is elsewhere. Krell considered this. Recalibrate our search parameters, look for regions with no beacons, no trails. Within hours, they had identified a sector previously considered empty, a void between spiral arms where stellar density decreased. No beacons, no quantum trails, nothing to attract attention. Krell ordered immediate course change. 2 days later, the pursuit fleet encountered something unprecedented, a spatial barrier that their sensors couldn't penetrate. When they attempted to proceed, their navigational systems failed, drives shut down, and every ship received the same transmission. This boundary marks the edge of human-protected space. Peaceful diplomatic vessels may request entry. Military craft will be redirected. This is your only warning. Krill, furious, ordered weapons prepared, only to discover they no longer functioned. Before he could issue new commands, the entire fleet experienced a moment of disorientation. When it passed, they found themselves back at their original departure point, weapon systems replaced with potted plants and navigation logs wiped clean. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer playing by hegemony rules. The Council emergency session had lasted 17 days without interruption. Representatives from over 200 worlds argued, threatened, and eventually began to negotiate as the full impact of humanity's departure settled into their collective consciousness. The stabilization program is suspended indefinitely, announced Chancellor Ziv, making official what had become obvious. All species previously designated for genetic guidance are reclassified as sovereign evolutionary paths. The chamber, once dominated by the founding species of the hegemony, now saw representatives of formerly subjugated civilizations speaking with new confidence. The Acadians request formal recognition of our independent governance, said their newly appointed ambassador. We will no longer accept oversight of our quantum research. Similar declarations followed from 24 worlds. Without humanity as the focus of the Council's control efforts, other species began asserting their autonomy. The Pegasus Accords must be rewritten, insisted the Ken representative, her luminescent skin pulsing with conviction. Equal technological access for all member worlds, not just the founding species. As the old order crumbled around him, Ziv recognized the inevitable. The hegemony had maintained control through careful manipulation of technological development, ensuring no single species could advance beyond the founding members' ability to contain them. Humanity had been the first to not only see through this system, but to reject it so completely that they removed themselves from the equation, and in doing so, they had changed everything. On the edge of what was now called the human exclusion zone, a small diplomatic vessel waited. Unlike the military ships that had been sent back, this unarmed craft had received coordinates for a meeting point inside. Ziv sat alone, having come without the Council's knowledge or permission. After months of internal conflict, he had made a personal decision to seek answers. A shimmer in space announced the arrival of a human ship, sleek with organic curves unlike the angular designs they had used within the hegemony. It matched velocity with his vessel, and a communication channel opened. Chancellor Ziv, came a voice he recognized. This is an unexpected honor, Admiral Voss, he replied, surprised to be addressing someone he knew. I've come alone, seeking understanding, not as a representative of the Council. Then you're welcome to accompany me, she replied. His vessel was drawn into the larger ship through means he couldn't identify. No tractor beams or docking mechanisms he recognized. When the airlock opened, Helena Voss stood waiting, her uniform different from those humans had worn in the hegemony, but her expression just as composed as he remembered. You've caused quite a disruption, Admiral, Ziv said, following her through corridors that seemed to blend technology with living material. That was never our intention, she replied. We simply chose our own path. They entered an observation deck, and Ziv stopped in astonishment. Below them spread a vista of impossible beauty, a planet with continents recognizably modeled after Earth's, but with differences that suggested terraforming on a scale the hegemony had never achieved. Orbital structures connected by delicate filaments formed a web around the world. New Terra, Voss explained. One of 17 worlds we've established in 6 months. Ziv couldn't hide his disbelief. In 50 years, she corrected. While the hegemony thought they were guiding our development, we continued advancing along paths you never monitored. What you're seeing represents technologies we developed centuries ago but kept hidden. Why reveal this to me now? Voss turned to face him directly. Because the hegemony is changing, species that were once controlled are finding their own voices. A new balance is forming. And humanity's role in this new balance. We'll remain separate but not isolated, she explained. Already refugees from conflicts the hegemony can no longer suppress have sought sanctuary within our zone. We've accepted them. Others have requested technology exchanges, collaborative development rather than controlled dissemination. Ziv stared at the thriving world below, understanding dawning. You're creating an alternative. We're creating a choice, Voss corrected. The hegemony maintained power by convincing everyone there was only one path to advancement, theirs. We've demonstrated another way is possible. As Ziv contemplated this, he noticed something on a nearby console, coordinates for his return journey, but also data crystals containing information. Medical protocols for the outbreaks in the Riel system, Voss explained. Stabilization algorithms for the failing atmospheric processors. Not everything, but enough to prevent suffering while the hegemony adjusts to a new reality. Why, Ziv asked simply. Because walking away wasn't about punishment, Chancellor. It was about freedom for us and ultimately for everyone. As he prepared to return, carrying both life-saving technologies and a profound challenge to everything the hegemony had built, Ziv found himself asking the question that had haunted the Council for months. How did you do it? 8 billion people vanishing without detection. Voss smiled slightly. Some secrets we'll keep, Chancellor, but I'll tell you this, we didn't move through space as you understand it. We moved sideways. With that cryptic answer, Ziv departed, returning to a hegemony forever changed by the species that walked away. The species that, in seeking their own liberation, had inadvertently created the possibility of freedom for others. As his ship crossed back into familiar space, a final message appeared on his console. Remember us not as the species that left, but as the ones who showed that another way is possible. The door remains open for peaceful contact when the hegemony is ready to meet as equals. Ziv looked back at the boundary of human space, invisible yet impenetrable to those who came with weapons, but permeable to those who came in peace. Perhaps, he thought, that was the most profound lesson humanity had taught them. Strength didn't have to be measured in control, but could instead be found in creating something worth choosing freely. The hegemony would never be the same again.